Hi guys, Sean at Go Big Bore Go Home sharing with you a new purchase. This is a Magnum Research BFR. It's the long frame with the large cylinder and it's chambered in 500 Smith Wesson Magnum. Now, I really wanted to see what I could do in the 50 caliber range with heavier bullets because it was going to be shooting a lot of heavy bullets at high velocities. I wanted a nice long barrel to maximize what I could get in regards to velocity and also helping me with a longer sight radius. I contemplated getting a Smith & Wesson in the X frame, but what changed my mind and made it kind of the decision to go with the BFR for me was, simply put, I called Smith & Wesson and asked them about ammunition, and I was recommended to not use buffalo bore. And the reason being is they said some of their stuff is outside of SAAMI's spec. Now that is true. However, a lot of their stuff I checked is within SAAMI spec, including their 440 grain hard cast load, which is spec'd out, I think, at 1600 or 1650 feet per second. And SAAMI does have that inside their specs, so that's a SAAMI spec load. When I called Magnum Research, like most companies, they said, you know, we don't support hand loading because, you know, there's no way to guarantee that the hand loader is staying within SAAMI specs, or, you know, that they're doing the right processes, or the brass isn't, you know, too weak. But they said, and I quote them here, any ammunition off the shelf the gun can handle. If it's made by Corbin, Buffalo Bore, Underwood, you know, Remington, anybody, Spear, who else am I thinking of? Federal, Hornady, anything that's designed in this caliber, the gun can handle. So that kind of made up my mind. I just felt that they seemed a little more confident in the strength of their revolver. Not saying the X frames aren't strong, just, you know, it's just the company's perspective, shall we say, on ammunition. So I went with the BFR. Now this is kind of a nice one in the sense that it has all the new features that recently came out. It's got, you know, the new rubber grip, as you can see here. It actually extends a little off. It doesn't protect your finger though. That's one thing I don't like. It does not protect the knuckle. The other thing, it's got the new rear sight on it, which I actually quite like. When you look at it, I'm going to see if I can kind of give the camera a look up there. It's got that nice target sight. It looks very similar to Bone Classic Arms sight, although it's actually a little bigger. And I think it really helps, personally. It's just, you know, preference. The other thing is the newer style hammer. Unlike the Blackhawk hammer, this is flattened. It's a unique style that's just for the BFR. One thing is they did do this weird thing for a while where they were doing it like at an angle like this. They've actually heard the customers saying they didn't like that. It's flattened out here, and as you can see, if you put your hand there, you know, it's very easy to reach up and grab. So I like that a lot. Like a standard BFR, there's no screw here. It's just held in, the base pin is just held in place by the screw here that screws into the barrel. It's the same cylinder as before, just longer. So it's unfluted. I'm going to hold it up here so you can kind of see. It's a 5-shot cylinder. Opens over here with a loading gate, just like the new model Blackhawks and Super Blackhawks. And it is, again, what I call the coolest thing since sliced bread. You have a free spinning pawl, which really is nice. So I've actually really enjoyed shooting it, and I will tell you this, without any kind of a muzzle brake on it, this cartridge really is a beast. I've really enjoyed it, but when cooking up some hot loads, and I fired everything from 300 grains up to 700 grains, it can really, really be hard to handle. One of the things about it that I didn't realize is, you know, if you fired an X-frame, it kicks you back here, right in the palm, really hard. In fact, this one kicks so hard I investigated other gloves. I now have some by Pro-Aim, which, if you haven't heard of them, you really should check out their website. I'll put a link down below. It has a gel palm, which really helps absorb the recoil. And it's full extended fingers, so it helps me also with the trigger guard here, because without the muzzle brake that the X-frame has, this barrel comes up and rotates. And this is not a light gun. This weighs 4.7 pounds. It's honestly very heavy. So the fact that it can rotate it and slam this back in your palm the way it does should tell you something about the recoil. I think I've hit my limit. I really do. This is about the most I can handle. It's, you know, I've seen other stuff that's been bigger, or the 500 Maximums, which are lighter. I don't know that I'd want to shoot something that's got this kind of power that's lighter, or shoot anything that's significantly bigger. It would really hurt. As a matter of fact, I'm going to do another video on this one when it comes back. It's just about to get sent off to Jack Huntington over at JRH Advanced Gunsmithing. Talked to a lot of the guys on the forum. This grip here is going to get redone. What they're going to do is they're actually going to shape the grip to my hand. The way that Jack Huntington does it is he has you put your hand on a piece of paper, you trace it, and then he fits the gun to your hand. It's actually going to be a Bisley style grip. I have really gotten into the Bisley grips lately, just shooting them back to back. There's no comparison. It allows the gun to move in your hand in a way that doesn't jolt you as much, so it's easier to go. And one of the things I am having him do is he's going to do an integrated muzzle brake for me. And I gotta be honest, this is the first gun I've actually considered doing a muzzle brake on. My 475 Linebaugh is, it's got a lot of recoil, and I can definitely see why people fear it, but it's manageable. This rotates so far, so far backward and so fast. It's just difficult to control. And you can do it, don't get me wrong, it's not undoable, but if you don't pay attention, even if it doesn't come back far enough to hit you in the head, which mine, I'll be honest, in a couple shots, it's come close. But if it doesn't come back that far, it is gonna hurt your hand by creating such rotation. So, definitely something I'm gonna be doing. Kind of going over this one just a little bit, some things I do like, some things I don't like. Now, I tend to be someone who tries not to be overly critical, but I'll be honest about what I think. Now, there is, on this particular piece, I think that our friends over at Magnum Research did a really nice job. This revolver is very nice. I've put a few scratches on it myself, but it came looking very good. Although some of the heat treating was not properly polished off, and it's kind of hard to see. I'll see if I can bring this up a little closer. But if you look in there, there's a little bit of like a bronzish color. That's actually heat treating that was not properly polished. So if anybody at Magnum Research is watching, I am not mad about it. It's not a big deal, but be aware, guys. One of the other things, and this is probably the only thing I'm really a little frustrated about, I'll show you guys a video here in a little while of me taking this to the range with a friend of mine, and on that trip, when I went to extract shells, I had actually brought my right hand finger in like this and pushed really hard, not realizing that this edge right here is sharp as a knife. This side isn't. This has been, sanded down and rolled like it should be. My other two BFRs don't have this problem, but on this one, again, if people from MRI are watching, I cut my finger on this, guys. This is going to Jack right now, so I've asked him to take care of this for me because he's got the gun. Why not? He said it'd be pretty easy. So again, it's got the 10-inch barrel. Now the way BFR measures is it's 10 inches from right here where the barrel extends outside of the frame. If you do it the Ruger way, which is to measure from the forcing cone, it's actually 10.5 inches. And I've gotten some fantastic velocities with that. Let me tell you, I've shot 440 grain hardcast bullets at 1,689 feet per second, which is just lightning for a bullet that big. I even did buy some 700 grain bullets, loaded them up to about 1,175 feet per second. And I've also shot 300 grain bullets at just over 2,100 feet per second. Now that last one is where I'm really, really intrigued. To be able to get that kind of velocity out of a handgun, regardless of the caliber, but especially for 300 grains of 50 caliber bullet, that's just impressive. I was using the Hornady FTX bullets. They're very accurate. I'll go ahead and put up on the screen my first group, which was at 11 yards with those bullets, and you'll see what I mean. And when I moved out to 25 yards, I'll show you here. You can see they're pretty darn accurate. So this is one of those firearms that I'll tell you right now, if you shoot one of these and you can't seem to get it to shoot straight, it's not the gun, it's you. Sorry. The gun is very accurate. The precision of the craftsmanship is excellent. One of the things that I really like too is the trigger, and this is the same for my other two as well, is, it's very light. It's not super light, it's not too light, and yes, I think that can happen sometimes. But it's a nice light trigger, it's very comfortable. I'll put up on screen what it measures at. I do have a trigger pull gauge, so you can see. Honestly, this is a really nice little gun, and the one thing that I thought was interesting is another difference from Smith & Wesson. This gun has rifling of 1 in 15-inch twist, which is pretty fast. Not super fast, but pretty fast. And the rifling in the Smith & Wesson X frames is 1 in 18 inches, I believe. And because it's 1 in 18 inches, and this one's 1 in 15, where I have heard people say that the 700 grain bullets don't stabilize well, in this gun they stabilized just fine, and they were perfectly accurate. As a matter of fact, my wife and I, Ashley and I, went out to the desert and shot up some old electronics that, shall we say, have broken and thus betrayed us, and we let them have it. And that was actually kind of fun. This thing wreaked havoc. I will tell you, though, that a couple things about this gun that are kind of a downside. Just like the X-frames, it's very heavy. So, you know, when you spend all day shooting it like this, you know, holding it, you know, this is one hand, but even with two hands, it's a lot of weight. It really is. I'm probably going to scope it too at one point. I do have a scope that's waiting for it. I just need to let Jack do his thing. But it's very heavy. This grip, while great, it's really not to my taste for a gun this big. I really want to get that Bisley shape on there. So I'm real excited to send this off to Jack. One of the other negatives is just that if you ever heard of, you know, recoil fatigue, this gun will give it to you. My friend Dave, who's been on the channel a couple of times, and I want to give credit to Dave. He's a good shooter, he's very accurate, and he's also very tough. I have yet to hand him a gun that he was unwilling to shoot, and I do know plenty of people who've told me they won't shoot this, but Dave wanted to shoot it. But even with being as tough as he is, he put 5 rounds downrange with the 300 grains at 2,100 feet per second, looked at me and said, "I'm done." And I respect him. It wasn't because, oh my God, that hurt so bad. He said, you know, it's just that it's so heavy and the recoil is so strong that you're fatigued by the time you get to the 5th round and you're just waiting for it to be over. Now, I will admit, my first 5 rounds, I felt the same way. I've kind of gotten used to it. I would say I enjoy shooting it for the most part. You just got to get used to the recoil. But so that's it. There's not much else to tell. It's going to be a great long-range gun for me. It's going to be a fun target piece. If I was going to use this for anything else, I might try and use this for silhouette. If I was a hunter, this would be a great, you know, extended range hunting piece, or close range with larger, heavier bullets. Definitely, I would absolutely say it's a completely unpackable pistol. And I mean, I bought this one that way, knowing it had this extended frame because of the extended cylinder. I never intended to have this gun be a packable gun. One other thing I really like is because it has the extended cylinder, unlike the X-frame where the 700 grain bullets is right there at the end of the cylinder and could lock up the cylinder in the event that one of those bullets becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? If it jumps crimp and it starts to extend out, this one, you know, the 700 grains are there. There's plenty of room. So the ability to use pretty much any bullet I can think of, as long as it's safe in the caliber, is there. And it's very exciting to me. For anyone who's interested in one of these, you know, you can go to, you know, MRI's website, talk to your local dealer, give MRI a call. They're really nice too. And one of the things that's also nice is you can actually get a 50 Beowulf cylinder for this, so that you can shoot 50 Beowulf out of there. Now, I'm not going to do that personally because from looking at the statistics, there's very little difference ballistically between, you know, a 50 Beowulf and a hot-loaded 500 Smith. So to me, there's just, you know, it's like this does everything the 50 Beowulf could do. But I hope you guys like it, and I'll put up some videos of me shooting this for you so that you guys can see what it does.